Odds are you've been misunderstood in your life, probably many times. If you're anything like me, you've often left an interaction with that tightness in your belly of feeling unseen and misunderstood. In fact, when somebody actually does pay attention to what I'm saying enough to understand me, it is rare and precious. Feels like the sky's opening up and I have a place in the world. I belong with my life and with this other person, and we have a connection together, and it feels like a gift. I believe that all of us want to receive that gift and spend a good amount of time and energy in our lives trying to receive that gift, because that connection is so important. So here's the wild idea of this presentation, that you can be a part of that connection not only in those rare and precious times that somebody gives you this gift, but you can be a part of that connection by giving this gift away. When you pay enough attention to somebody else that they feel heard, they feel understood, then their sky opens for them and they have a place in their world and they're feeling a connection with you and you're a part of that connection. You get to experience that connection by giving the gift of understanding away. If you're able to establish a culture in the relationship where you do the work of understanding somebody and they in turn do the work of understanding you, think of the connection that you can forge. Think of the things you can accomplish together. Think of the feeling of belonging together that you can realize. Giving this gift is simple, but it's not easy. Let's start with a simple premise that there is, in fact, an objective reality abroad in this universe that contains our planet and everything on it. Now here's the twist. You do not experience that objective reality. What you experience is entirely within the hard, bony shell of your skull, inside of 3 pounds of biomechanical on-off switches that are programmed to create associations and patterns. Instead of reality generating your experience, these electrical signals and the patterns that they make create your experience of the world. Everything that's ever happened to you is in there. The interactions you had with your family of origin, the messages from the dominant culture you grew up in, the very language you learned to speak, all of your successes and failures, the information that you've received from all of your senses, every person you've ever met, the consequences of all of your actions, your very sense of self, all of these are encoded in the 3 pounds of biomechanical electrical switches. Those patterns constitute your model of the world and generate your expectations about what might happen, so you know how to react. Are you safe or are you threatened? From those patterns, you develop your beliefs and values, your preferences, habits, your knowledge. And crucially, at the very center of all of this, the person who's experienced all of these sensations and interactions is you. You are at the very center of your map of the world. And here's the thing. That's real. You know it's real. You live it every day. It has to be real. to you. So this starts to explain why it's so hard to understand somebody else, because they have a different model of the world, different values, different beliefs, different experiences of their family of origin, different interactions, different successes and failures. And they are at the very center of their world. They know deep in their belly that their model of the world is real, and it's just as real as you know your reality is. So this is the hardest part of understanding somebody else. You have to accept that your model of the world and their model of the world are different from one another. But your reality and their reality are just as real. Of course, this does not mean that you abandon yourself. It's crucial that you maintain contact with your reality in all moments. But what you are doing is suspending your worldview temporarily so that you can be curious about what's going on for another person as they experience their world. It turns out that very few people have learned to do this. It's because every person that exists, or that you can imagine, exists inside your own worldview. So you can predict what they might do next. Are they to be trusted, or should you remain wary? Are they safe, or are they a threat? You need to know this so you can protect yourself. But when we interact from somebody as a projection of our expectation from our model of the world, we're not actually interacting with who they are in that moment inside of their own world. When their behavior and their words do not match your expectations, you experience that as something is wrong. Instead, that might be the time to get really curious about what's happening for them inside of their world. So let's imagine this. Let's say somebody else is really paying attention to you and trying to understand you, and you're talking to them, you're saying something, and they're trying to get it, and they're letting you know what they're understanding. They say, when you said this, did you mean this? Or when you said that, it sounded like that. Is that what you meant? And you get a chance to say, yeah, basically, but there was this other thing, and you can explain that. And then they say, oh, you mean this. And then you get to say, exactly. That's the moment of understanding, when you say exactly. There is so much to be said about bridging this reality gap, but there is one more thing that's really important. And that's not to confuse understanding somebody and accepting who they are with agreeing with their perspective or approving of their choices and actions. You can understand somebody that you disagree with. You can agree to disagree. You can have a connection with somebody who's different from you, because every other human is different from you. So don't let disagreement interfere with understanding. Understanding somebody means when you arrive at the place where you can say, of course they would say that. Of course they would do that. That's so in character with them. That's how they have learned to navigate in this chaotic and confusing world. If I were given a magic wand and could wave it, what I would want would be that every person in the world be able to go out and interact with other people and normally feel understood. Not always, but normally. Not necessarily agreement, but accepted for who they are. So here's a magic wand. It is simply being curious about somebody else's experience of their world as they're experiencing it. Here you go. Are you going to use it for creating understanding and connection in your life?